Okay. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are again, and this time I have a tier 9 game for you in my Kitakaze. No, I do not just play cruisers and battleships. I actually do like playing cruisers now and then, especially if you have lucky matchmaking with no CV involved. So we are on the estuary map. We have 4 destroyers on each team, which is, kind of rare, I guess. We have a black, which you don't see very often these days, which also has a radar. We have 2 Kitakazes and a Friesland, and the Friesland's actually a very good gunboat. On the other team, we have a Fletcher, 2 Yugomos, which are good torpedo boats, and another Kitakaze. The enemy also has an Alaska, and we have an Alaska, and that's pretty much it for radar. I'm not sure the Kronstadt might have a radar. So looking around, and it actually looks like our team is well situated, and the Friesland and the Black are moving towards A. So I move to support the Kitakaze, who spawned on the flank, by moving towards D. We also have the Alaska B on that side, so we might have radar support. So this seems like a good opportunity to contest D. The Kitakaze is not the fastest ship in the book. She is a very good gunboat. These 100mm guns do shred a lot of ships, especially if you have some time to shoot at them. But we don't want to push in there from this angle. We want to leave it to the other Kitakaze, if possible, to spot that. So the enemy Alaska is spotted. He's also on our flank, Buster CK. I have to be careful there. We don't want to get radared and shredded. There's a Georgia and a Frederick the Great moving up, and our black has already engaged a Yugumo in the center. So right now I'm turning my broadside toward D in order to get all my guns firing and support our Kitakaze, while keeping the island between me and those ships coming from the north that are supporting their destroyers. We do have enemy destroyers in D, we just don't know who it is yet. Now our Kitakaze is keeping it smart. He is not moving into D right now, but he is attempting to spot the enemy. And there's also a Cyclone moving in. So the Yugumo gets spotted, and we open fire right away. First it looks like he's going to speed up, but then he slows down, tries to pop the smoke screen, so I don't hit him with anything from there. This was not my greatest shooting, to be honest. However, we keep shooting, because every hit we can land on him will actually help our Kitakaze in this gunfight, so we try to shoot him in the smoke, because I thought he was going backwards. No such luck, though. And then the enemy Fletcher gets spotted. So we do know that the enemy have a Fletcher and a Yugumo in here. The other Yugumo is already dead, and we have a Kitakaze in A. Alright, so we open up on the Fletcher. However, he gets unspotted just as we are about to hit him. So we keep in a position where we can actually shoot him, and we just pepper the area. Right now, the Alaska is trying to radar us, but there's not a lot that he can actually do, simply because we are behind the island. And there's the Fletcher again, and this time we can actually take a couple of proper pot shots at him, and he also gets hit a lot by our teammates, and then we are able to finish him. Unfortunately, our Kitakaze gets sunk by the enemy Brindisi. So right now I am the only destroyer on this flank, and this is not a position where I can hide behind this island for long. I'm looking around a little bit at my support. I'm a little... well, I'm not happy about the positioning of our Alaska. Our Alaska should have moved up here with me in order to radar D. And our Pommern is actually very far south and not a big help at all. But we do have a Frederick the Great moving up to support. So I decide to take a look around the corner, see what we can see. But I don't want to go in front of that island, because there's a whole lot of secondary fire coming in. The Alaska will have its radar ready sooner than later. So, yeah. We just fire some torps in the general direction of these pushing battleships, and we sail around this island here, because now our main job is to spot the enemy. Our Alaska is now pushing up into a lot of fire, which is very brave. And he will be in a good position to support us here. And we need to support him, obviously. So I'm popping my reload booster because I want to put a second set of these torps up there. Because there's a Frederick the Great, there's a Pommon, and behind them is also a Georgia coming up, and we want to really be able to help them. Unfortunately, our first set of torpedoes goes wide, and the Frederick the Great has slowed down too much, so we don't hit him. But the second set is actually like triple torps, as Flamu likes to call them. They could hit one of these three ships pushing up there. So I'm pinging the Pommern. Please get out from that island. You are really not in a good position there to help us. And we are preparing to spot these guys and shoot at them if necessary. So we noticed that the Yugumo and the Brindisi are both not within range, so this might be a good opportunity to help our Alaska out with some dagger. So I pop my spot screen and I start shooting the Frederick the Great. I have an eye on the Alaska, who is almost 10 kilometers away, which is just enough that we could disengage from his radar quickly if we wanted to. The Frederick the Great obviously has German hydro, which 6 kilometer range. We don't want to get caught by that, and here's the radar. So we land a torpedo on the Georgia, we put a fire on the Frederick the Great, and there are the shots from the Alaska. So we start moving forward. And there I just whiffed a salvo into the water. And we get spotted by the hydro of the Frederick the Great, but he gets taken out by the Alaska. Beautiful. So we are no longer spotted. So we can start firing at the Georgia again. I have to be aware, and I noticed at the time, that the Brindisi and the Yugumo are going around this island in the north, so they might pop up behind me at any second. But I do want to use that smoke screen right here to set another fire or two on the Georgia. And I just have to be aware that as soon as I get spotted, I need to move out of there. So together with our Alaska, we have denied this push of these battleships quite successfully. They had to slow down because of my torps, and the Alaska did. I think the Alaska did most of the damage, to be honest. And the Georgia is also gone. So I'm just about to switch to Alaska when I get spotted. And I realize, aha, spotted, that means there are the enemies behind me right now. And I am starting to accelerate to get out of here. I pop my speed boost, but I eat a pretty big chunk from the Brindisi, Sap being particularly nasty. I think about shooting the Alaska there for a second, but I decide against it. Disengaging is more important. I need to keep the spotting up right here. And overall, I make it out of there with relatively little damage, even though it could have been even less if I disengaged a little earlier. I was just greedy for that Georgia booty. So, I'm checking our support. We have a Frederick the Great right behind us, the Pommern still fairly far away, but not too far away, and we have the Alaska, even though he's moving in front of the island where I didn't want to go. And he might present a broadside to the enemy Alaska doing so, so this is very risky. But we have enough ships. We can actually push up. We need to spot these targets for our team. And at the same time, I noticed that the Cyclone is moving in, so soon the enemy support will be very limited. So this is a good time to push. Taking a look at the landscape there, I thought there might be a gate somewhere, but no. So the Yugumo is at almost 8,000 health. I am at 11,000, almost 12,000. Yugumo is not a gunboat, so I feel confident that we can take him. At the same time, the enemy Alaska sinks our Alaska. Looking at the map, we control 2 of the maps. It's about even right now, but our team seems to have it under control for the moment. Our Missouri is doing a very, very critical push into B, which is, questionable at best. So, spotting range is starting to decrease, 17 kilometers, 16 kilometers. So I know I won't be able to see the Brindisi soon, and the Brindisi will not be able to support the Yugumo if I move into D. So I fire some preemptive torps into D, also thinking that the Alaska might push into there. And then I turn my nose towards D and start towards capturing it. Start turning my turrets. And our Kronstadt is pinging us to capture, and he's about right. I mean, we are more than 100 points behind. We really need to capture to make sure that we win this. Because we could lose this game. fairly soonish if we don't pay attention. So, the Yugumo could be anywhere, but turns out he's right in front of us. He has still the 7,900 health, so we open up right away. And he doesn't shoot back a lot. That was his first salvo. And I'm not doing my best shooting again, because I thought he was trying to stay in his smoke, but he only fired one salvo at us. So that tells me, well, there are torpedoes in the water. So I stop. Now this is risky for several reasons. If he's a good player, he probably fired my distorps where I am going, which he did. So I slow down. Oh, so close. But I managed to dodge all of them. If he was a bad player, he might actually have misfired them and killed me, by that. I've been hit by bad torpedoes more often than by good, I feel. And if he was a very, very good player, he might have used a much broader spread because all it needed for me was one torpedo. But he was just, decent. So I'm trying to help my Frederick the Great against the Brindisi. However, I cannot shoot over the island. The gun angles are not good enough. So I turn out a little bit. Well, that salvo went nowhere. And now I have his broadside and I switch to AP. Try to punish him a little bit, but he's turning out. He's not just turning out, he's getting his torpedoes ready to fire at the Frederick the Great. So I capture D in the meantime. Still firing at him. And the Frederick the Great takes him out. He eats a couple of torpedoes, but he survives. So, we're looking around. Okay, Alaska should be here somewhere. I have to be careful that we don't get radared. And there he is. Luckily, the smokescreen is between me, or the smokescreen from the Yugumo is between me and the Alaska. So I pop my reload booster, and I send 2 waves of torpedoes in a relatively broad angle towards the Alaska. And then I start shooting and pop my own smokescreen to disengage. Smoke generator started. Because I don't want to get hit by that Alaska AG. And I need to get away in case his radar is coming up. Luckily, the Pommon has finally found his fighting pants and is moving up. I land 1 torpedo on the Alaska for some decent damage. I keep firing, and the Pommon finishes him with his own torpedoes. Nice work. So now the game has switched completely. We have killed the Yugumo, the Alaska, and the Brindisi, and now the team is down to 3 enemy ships. We are 6-3, we have 2 destroyers, so this should be a win. But there's an important lesson that you don't want to win harder. I mean, we could push into these ships and get killed, and sometimes you see these videos that Jingles has where people come back from this. So let's make sure that we don't let them come back. We want them to lose. So I decide to go down here in the south. Take a look at our Frederick the Great here. I think he might be AFK. I don't know, maybe he disconnected. He did kill an enemy ship, so he was useful to the team, and then he disconnected for some reason. No judgment here. So I see that the Kronstadt and the Black are moving in from the other side, so I decide to turn off here and support our team on this side, and that's when the enemy Kitakaze is spotted. Now that Kitakaze is almost on full health. He does not have the perk with additional health, forgot the name. And it looks like the Kronstadt and the Black are going to push him towards me. So this is going to be like hunting destroyers. We're hunting destroyers. So I decide to play it cool and wait for him to come around the corner. Blitzfreundin means lightning girlfriend. So, our Frederick the Great has smoke coming out of his chimneys, but he's not really moving. Maybe he's... So I think, okay, ambush set. Let's have him come around the corner. 2 salvos or 3 should finish him off. And then he turns... I was like, come on, it's such a nice ambush. It's perfect. So I'm moving backwards a little just in case he grounded on that island over there, but no, nothing. Instead, an enemy Pommon is pushing up. There he is again. But he has made it around the island and is now moving north. So there's nothing we can really do here. So I decide, okay, let's move up a little closer. Maybe we can do some damage to that pommel. We did 85,000 damage so far. That's okay. It's not huge, but it's pretty okay.
Teammate, I need your support.
I ping the Frederick the Great just in case he is still alive and just doesn't want to fight, but we don't really need him. So, taking a look at the pommel over there. We don't want to get in range of his secondaries. So, slow down. Let's take a look. It's going backwards, not too fast. And we don't have a reload boost anymore, so we can only fire 5 times. So I slow down, and I decide, well, this is a time where I can farm some damage on the pommel. So I pop my smoke screen, and I start with HE on his broadside. And here you can see how much damage these guns can rake up in a short time. So I'm switching to AP here because we do have a nice broadside there. And that's like a couple of thousand every salvo. I've seen better, to be honest, but yeah. Switching back to HE. And the pommel eats 2 of our torpedoes, 1 on the nose, 1 on the belt. Not enough to kill him, but we just keep farming him. We set a fire, and our Frederick the Great takes the kill. So now we pretty much have there's 1 destroyer left, there's 1 battleship left, and their battleship is just running for the hills. Has he done anything? He has killed 1 enemy, so yeah. He knew where the fire button was. So the Kitakaze, he's coming around there, and again, let's try this ambush again. This time, he will not escape. So we prepare for him, moving backwards, targeting him, having our guns ready, having HE loaded. He's being fired upon by the secondaries of the Frederick the Great, but he will be in firing range in a couple of seconds, and BAM! Frederick the Great just ruffle stomps his ass. And that's pretty much it. Now we move in towards capturing. So certainly not the worst game that we ever did. Now I move into B to capture it, but obviously there's not enough time left, but let's go for a little capture. So the game ends. As you can see, we did decently well. So thank you very much for watching, and join me next time. Goodbye.